Hello beautiful people, and welcome back to another video. My name is Dani, and on this channel we talk about everything that's bettering ourselves from the inside out. So if bettering yourself is something you're into, then hit the subscribe button so you never miss a video with me. In the last video we spoke about being full of yourself with self and physical appearance, and how important it is to pamper yourself from the inside out and take that time just for you. I wrote a book called Full of Yourself, a guide to becoming your most audacious self. It's available on Amazon, on Kindle, and on Barnes & Noble online. I have the book and I also have the journal. And this is a series that I wanted to go into with each chapter, just highlighting its best. So in this video, we're going to be discussing being full of yourself with parents, your kids, and boundaries. So I wanted to make this video just short and sweet. I go into more detail in my book, so you can read it in there. But I know that this subject can be touchy, and I don't want to tell anybody how to parent or how to be a daughter or a sister or anything like that. I'm just going to give you some of the tips that I've used for myself that are very helpful. My main idea here is just to create boundaries with your parents, with your children, with anybody in your life, especially people that you see on a consistent basis, which I know can be a lot easier said than done. But with these tools, I feel it'll be so much easier. You could just get in there and just make it happen. So the first thing that I did in order to create these boundaries was I made a list. I understand that lists can be kind of a lot sometimes, but I do personally think, me as a list type of person, I feel that lists are very crucial to the whole development of the goal. My list consisted of the people in my life that I felt were not utilizing the energy I'm giving them in a positive way, and it was affecting me, right? So if it's a parent that's affecting you in this way, you're gonna write that person down on the list. If it's a sibling, if it's a best friend or an auntie, or if it's just someone in your life that you're having a lot of energy go to them and they're not giving you anything back, they're more taking it from you, making you feel like shit, just not giving you that all-around good feeling of being around somebody, especially someone in your family. This could also be people that like hold you in a box. So when I was starting my self-love journey and I was starting my full of yourself journey, I wanted to change who I was before, right? I didn't like this old Dani that I was. I wanted to evolve. I wanted to be better. I wanted to learn more. I wanted to have really strong boundaries. And some people will not like that. They will not be okay with it, and they'll want to hold you in this box of what they want you to be because this person is the person that they know, which is familiar, it's comfortable. And if you're going to change and say create a boundary, then you're most likely going to put them in their place or want to distance yourself, and it's going to create some uncomfortability for that particular person. So the people that would be put on the list are people that would put you in the box, that don't let you evolve, people that are taking from you, people that are just not making you feel your best. So these people are going to go on your list to start. And if anybody makes it to this list, it could be for the smallest of reasons. You can even say, like your father. He got put on the list because he always tells me I cannot do it. He makes me feel like I cannot do X, Y, and Z. The reason why your father would go on there is because he's making you have that feeling in your head, limiting yourself, that whatever this certain particular thing is that you know you can do, he's saying you can't do it. So that person would go on the list. And then with that, I would take that into consideration with all the other people in my family or in my, real circle, my real life circle that I see on a consistent basis. Because it doesn't have to be family, it could be anybody that you see. But these are specifically for parents and for your children, and just creating boundaries with people who are very close to you that you see on a consistent basis. And once they get on the list, I wrote out why. Why are they on the list? So say, for example, it's your aunt. Your aunt is always judging the way you parent. She does not like it. She doesn't like how you talk to your children. She thinks you need to be more tough on them. She doesn't like how you're raising them. She thinks maybe you're not giving enough discipline. And it really bothers you. So now every time your aunt's around, who is part of your family, she makes you feel uncomfortable. You might not want to be around her. You might feel uncomfortable when your kids are being bad, so it makes you a little irritated with them. Like, be on your best behavior. But they're children. They're going to do what they do. And with this, your aunt being there and being this type of person who is always judging your parenting and kind of making you feel like you're just like not doing things the correct way, whatever that might be in her eyes, that person is on that list because of that reason. So once you have this list made up of the people that you feel are draining you, are judging you, people in your close-knit community. So of course I say parents and kids and boundaries, but the boundaries goes for anybody. So if it's a coworker that you see a lot, maybe interacts with your family a little bit more than you'd like, or maybe it's a friend of a friend, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's an immediate person right there that you see every single day. Those people need to be on the list. And you have to understand why. Why are they on the list, right? So once you go through that, you say, Aunt Stacy on the list because she judges my parenting and I feel uncomfortable. Once you have your list made up, right? You have your reasons as to why this person made it to your list. Then you're gonna find out how to fix the situation. And sometimes there's not a good way to go about it. Sometimes you have a conversation and that person realizes, wow, this, Dani is going into a lot of self-development. I'm gonna have to back up and just let her be who she is. If she says that, she wants to read 100 books in the year, let her do it because that's what she wants to do. That's what's gonna develop her, and I'm gonna give her the support and love she needs. Or Aunt Stacy made it to the list, again, with the example, Aunt Stacy made it to the list because she's judging my parenting. But you pulled Aunt Stacy aside. You had a conversation with Aunt Stacy and you said, listen, Aunt Stacy, I really don't appreciate the way you talk to my children. I don't appreciate the way you talk to me. I think I'm doing just fine as a parent. I am their parent. If you don't like it, then we're gonna have to distance ourselves from you. But I would really appreciate it if you didn't say anything. Now, that person as an adult, some people are not gonna be self-aware enough, they're not gonna be emotionally aware enough, so they're not gonna be able to handle this. However, there are people that will. So if Aunt Stacy takes what you said and utilizes it, perfect, that's great. Now you've had this conversation, you have two adults that can really take their opinions and what they want in life and just let them be, right? No judgment, things are great. However, if Aunt Stacy says, I'm gonna do what I want, I'm gonna say what I want, I've never been quiet a day in my life, I speak up for what I believe in, there's always someone out there that's like that won't allow you to just be who you are. If that is the case, then you need to distance yourself from Aunt Stacy. And I know that this is a little controversial because your family is your family, right? That's kind of just who you were made into this life with. So there's not a choice really if they could be your family or not. So there are going to be events you might absolutely have to be around Aunt Stacy. In that sense, then you distance yourself from that person. But you should be able to say exactly how you feel as well as Aunt Stacy. So even though Aunt Stacy has her opinion about your parenting, you have your opinion about Aunt Stacy. So if you guys can't meet in the middle, there has to be some distance. And that's what I would do for every single person in my life, that especially in my immediate circle. There has to be that boundary. And on that same effect, there has to be the boundary with yourself, because boundaries can be very difficult, but the one person you cannot break a boundary with is you. Breaking a boundary with yourself is probably one of the worst things that you can do, but it also is bound to happen. Let me explain. We have our day-to-day lives. Sometimes, and I've been there myself, sometimes it is so much easier to just be like, throw your hands up and be like, I can't deal with this, versus putting that boundary in place and telling that other person, I don't like how you're talking to me, or I don't like how you have this strong opinion about how I parent. whatever the case is, whatever the scenario is, if that is your boundary and you want to have this conversation with Aunt Stacy, or you want to have it with your uncle or with your brother or with your, your boyfriend or your husband or your mom, it doesn't matter. The close-knit group of people that you have in your life should be able to accept you and should be able to accept the problems that you come with, or the problems that have become an issue, become a problem in your guys' relationship. So, as I'll say it again, creating that boundary with yourself is the most important thing. There's going to be times where you don't want to handle it because it's so hard, and confrontation is uncomfortable. Sticking up for yourself sometimes can be a little uncomfortable, but you get through that uncomfortability and you build this like crazy bond with yourself because you stuck to that boundary. You stuck up for yourself. So from this point forward, you're going to be able to have the great relationships that you want because you stuck that boundary to yourself and you followed through with it. Okay, so now I wanted to speak about children. And as a mom of a 16-year-old, I feel like now I have way better boundaries with me and him and our relationship. But it wasn't always like that, and I also run a business where I work with a lot of children. And boundaries are something that we need. And boundaries are also something that children absolutely need. So I would never sit here and say that my parenting is better than another person. Not at all, because I am no Aunt Stacy. However, I do have tips, and I see, and I have noticed that for me in my life, these tips and these boundaries that I've implemented with my son have helped me immensely in my self-development, on becoming successful in my certain endeavors that I decide to do, and any new projects that I have, just like anything really. It's crucial. It's crucial to have boundaries with your children and to let them know you're the boss. And so with this, we are going to make a list, but the list is a little different. We're going to make a list on the things you'd like to do. Okay, what would you say your perfect day is with your children? Do you have your children on a set schedule? Are you able to do an hour of alone time in the morning because you wake up earlier than them? Or have an hour of alone time at night because you put them to bed on a strict bedtime schedule? The whole idea behind this, creating the boundaries for your children, is to make a list and figure out where are you going with it. Do you want your schedule to be boom, boom, boom? Do you want it to be a little bit more lenient, but you have like 3 things out of the day you need to make sure you actually do and complete? This is going to be entirely up to you. Each individual person is going to be so different. However, I knew for myself that I wanted my son to be up at a certain time, to take a nap at a certain time, to be in bed by a certain time. Like now he's 16, so that's different. But at the time of me creating these boundaries, I knew that I needed alone time. I knew I needed to make sure all my personal chores were done to feel good in my home. I knew I needed to complete certain things for work. So it's gonna be tailored to you and to your children. But the biggest thing to do is to create those boundaries and ultimately create those boundaries with yourself, because it's so much easier to let those boundaries go with your kids because you're like, they're my kids, you know what I mean? I'm gonna let them do this, this, and this, but you know that that is not helping you in any way. So, of course, don't run this crazy military household unless you want to, but it's gonna be up to you and what you decide to do. However, putting your foot down and making them have certain things to do is gonna establish just like this greater relationship with them and their boundaries. And that's a really big picture you need to paint for yourself, is that my son has seen me always keep certain things in order. He's seen me become a morning person, from struggling with it to actually becoming a morning person because I put those boundaries in with myself. And now he loves to wake up early. He wakes up early, he has his morning routine, he does his meditations, and he's taking that on because that's a boundary I implemented for myself. I said, I want to be a morning person, I want to wake up early and meditate, I want to be a journaler, I want to be a reader. And those things are your child is just absorbing. They're seeing all those things that you're doing. So creating that boundary for yourself is going to show them that maybe boundaries are a really good thing. So I know when I was growing up, there are certain things my parents didn't do at the time that I felt now as being an adult that I'm like, why wouldn't they do it? But it just wasn't part of their routine. And seeing that, I was able to create my own boundaries, but now my son has just taken them on himself. So understanding what it is that you want for your day and for your children. What do you want them to see? What type of characteristics and traits do you want them to take on from you? Those are going to be where you're going to have to put your strong boundaries in, because do you want your kids to always be late to certain things? Do you want your kids to not have this mindset of anything is possible? Those are boundaries that you have to put in for yourself. And I do think that they start at creating boundaries on your schedule and making sure that you're getting your shit done so that they see it. And of course, it's always going to be tailored to you, your kids, how you parent, what you want your schedule to be. And that's why I say make a list. Figure out what you want your perfect day to be. Then you're going to bridge that gap and figure out how can you take your normal day that you have, or your kids, maybe they wake up whenever they want to, go to bed whenever they want to, take a nap at 5 p.m., and then they are just up all night. I mean, it's totally up to you. Whatever you want it to be, as to what it actually is, you need to find a way to bridge that gap. And I am telling you right now, boundaries are it, but mostly with yourself. I hope that you gained something from this video. Thank you again so much for all your love and support. Thank you for watching this video. And if you have any questions, obviously feel free to DM me. Follow me on Instagram. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Show me that you like the video. Let's have some conversation in the comments on what you feel is the best thing that you've implemented in your household and with your family as far as boundaries go, little tips and tricks. Like, what we welcome it all here. And I would love to hear more and learn more, because I'm always too looking for ways to upgrade that with myself and with my family. So again, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to tune in next week because we are going to be talking about some really great topics. Until next time, thank you, and I will see you then.